The great LSU basketball overhaul has begun. We've got the latest. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt McMahon. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. Today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay with us for the Armada Team of the Week later in this episode. We will let you hear a little bit from Brian Kelly after he met with reporters on Saturday, specifically about the linebacker spot. Tigers are back on the practice field on Tuesday, and Joe Sloan meets with reporters after practice, so we'll have much more of an update from LSU's offensive coordinator as the Tigers make their way through spring. Also, LSU baseball back on the diamond against UL-Lafayette. We'll give you a thumbnail preview of that game coming up in just a smidge, but Monday, the transfer portal window opened for college basketball, and the great exodus of 2025 has begun. It started with Corey Chest, the redshirt freshman out of New Orleans, announcing he was entering the transfer portal. Within an hour of that, we learned that Mike Williams, the sophomore guard, also entering the transfer portal. And then Tyrell Ward, the wing, who this should be no surprise whatsoever, because if you remember back in November, Tyrell Ward, quite literally minutes before the season opener, announced that he was stepping away from the team and would not return. Now Tyrell Ward formally in the transfer portal. He'll finish his career somewhere else. So I mostly want to do this segment just to go on the record. So as we move through the next month, etc., there is no misunderstanding about where I'm coming from. And what I'm going to tell you right now, if you're an everydayer, and thank you for that, is going to sound very familiar, okay? Because I am looking at LSU basketball right now through the same lens that I was looking at LSU football when Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan, Jakeem Stewart picked Southern Cal, Cade Phillips flipped to Texas on signing day, and the sky was falling. The Chicken Littles were everywhere. And I said then, I'm going to reserve judgment. Talk to me in 30 days. Because what I knew, what I shared with you, was that LSU, which was flush with cash, meaning the collective, was flush with cash, and all of the money that they had earmarked for those freshmen, for Underwood, for Stewart, for Phillips, they were now going to take and add into the transfer portal bucket what they were going to go try to attract via the portal. I knew they were going to do that. I told you they were going to do that. Sat right here and told you, at this chair, and told you that's what they were going to do with the money. Said, so let's see. They got money to spend. Let's see if they can attract the right players. And lo and behold, they go sign the number one transfer portal class in the country. And all of a sudden, all of our conversation around LSU football is dramatically different. I'm going to have the same conversation with you right now about basketball. And I want to be very clear before I go any further. So there is absolutely no misunderstanding what I am saying. I am not sitting here today exonerating Matt McMahon. I am not sitting here today telling you, Matt McMahon's an awesome coach and he's going to figure it out. I am not telling you that I think Matt McMahon is going to win championships. I'm not telling you any of that. And if you're sitting here today disgusted with the basketball program, good. At least somebody cares. Because apathy has taken hold. I am not telling you unequivocally, Matt McMahon is the greatest and he'll figure it out. Not what I'm saying. What I will tell you is this. I don't know if he is. And the most prudent thing to do is to give him the resources to find out. Let me explain, okay? Now, you can choose to believe me what I'm about to tell you, or you can choose not to. I don't really care. It's up to you. But what I'll tell you is, when it's come to NIL and a lot of the numbers, I've shared a lot with you, and I ain't been wrong yet. I'm the one who told you that Bryce Underwood got $12 million from Michigan. You know where minutes after he flipped, I came from my office at Guarantee, came live on Locked On LSU, and told you $12 million. I put it on Twitter. It's the most universally accepted number now that Bryce Underwood got $12 million. I was right. Don't need to get into how I know. Suffice to say, going back to July of 2021, I made a lot of inroads in the NIL space. I know a lot of people. I did a podcast called Rosters to Riches with my buddy Jonathan Pixley from Matchpoint. And when NIL was very new, we spoke to a lot of people, man. We spoke to billionaire boosters. We spoke to athletic directors. We spoke to coaches, collectives, heads of collectives, athletes, attorneys. We talked to darn near everybody you could imagine. So I've got a lot of good connections in the NIL space. I just know a lot of numbers. LSU, this past year in basketball, spent $1.8 million on its roster. Best of my knowledge, the top end of the SEC, Auburn, Florida, top end of the league, was spending in the $8 million range on their roster. The middle of the league, Missouri, Vanderbilt, were around $5 million. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Because I have heard this from some LSU fans. Why are you blaming the players? Blame the awful coach. Again, I'm not telling you Matt McMahon is great. I'm not sitting here saying Matt McMahon's not the problem. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is John Wooden could have pulled a Lazarus and come back from the grave and coach this team, and they ain't making the tournament. If you want to sit here today and say, well, who recruited those guys? Fair. Matt McMahon. Blame him for that. That's totally fine. Poor valuation, poor dollar spend, all that sort of stuff. The reality is you're in the bottom two in dollar spend in the SEC in NIL on this roster. And lo and behold, you finish second to last in the league at 3-15. What's the old thing that your mama told you? You get what you pay for? You get what you pay for. So here's where you are. You're terrible. Your roster is unable to compete. And you had 3 players on the first day of the portal hit the portal. And there's some LSU fans who melt over that, just trying to use it as ammunition, as validation of their argument against Matt McMahon. And I'm here to tell you, they don't want those 3 players back. Telling you point blank. Chest, Williams, and Ward, they ain't done either, by the way. How many players come back? It's going to depend a little bit on what some of them will take financially to return. The ones that might be invited back, may choose to go into the portal and see if they can find more money elsewhere. Might be best for them. But the reality is when you're 3-15 in the SEC, when you are unable to compete, there's not really many guys on that roster you're aching to keep anyway. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to those young people, because I know they try hard and they work hard, and it is not necessarily their fault. They're put in a bad situation, all that sort of stuff. But if you want to compete at the top of what is literally the best and deepest conference in the history of college basketball, you have 7 teams in the Sweet 16 from the SEC. Think about that for a second. You're one shy of half of the Sweet 16 coming from the SEC. And you're out here spending $1.8 million on your roster? I don't care who's coaching this team. So I'll say it again. I'm not telling you Matt McMahon's awesome and is going to win. What I'm telling you is it doesn't matter who the coach is. Nobody was winning with that roster. So I've been told, just like I was with football, I've been told that collective and revenue share have earmarked funds, ample funds, to go buy a competent roster, a competitive roster. Can Matt McMahon and the staff convince really good players in the transfer portal to take their money and come to Baton Rouge? I don't know the answer to that, but we'll find out here in about a month. So right now, Chest, Williams, Ward, that's 3. gone. Jordan Sears, Derek Fountain, Cam Carter, Jai Bailey. That's 4 out of eligibility. That's 7. 7 of your 13 scholarship players are gone. That's more than half that are already gone. Now, remember, next year, teams can allow up to 15 scholarships in the 25-26 season, school year. So you can go up to 15. You're already losing 7. And I'm here to tell you, brother, they ain't done. There will be more LSU players go in the portal. You understand me? So here's your sort of conundrum. Do you actually, hang on, hold that thought. Let me explain. Let me stay on time. I'm going to explain the conundrum and why they're staying the course when we come back. Locked on LSU, your team every day. The Armada Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our locked-on college basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart from top-seeded stars to the unexpected upsets. These guys showcase the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada and clear-cut team of the week, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Despite losing their first 5 SEC games, Coach Cal's Hogs fought their way through the most rugged conference in college basketball to not only make the NCAA tournament, but knock off back-to-back national champion and Hall of Fame coaches en route to the Sweet 16. They accomplished all this without second leading scorer Boogie Flan for most of SEC play and without leading scorer and rebounder Adu Thiru so far in the NCAA tournament. So when it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say, go forth and conquer. And that's exactly what the Arkansas Razorbacks have done here. It's clear that our team of the week is out here ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, or Pathfinder. Go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. So I told you there was a conundrum, and here it is. You know your roster's not good enough to compete. So you have earmarked funds and resources to be able to go put together a competitive roster. Now, a lot of you said it won't matter if you go put together a competitive roster because the coach isn't any good. Again, I'm not at that point yet. Matt McMahon was a successful coach at Murray State, okay? He won 31 games his last year there. Made the NCAA tournament multiple times. The guy's shown he can coach. Can he win at LSU? I don't know. And I'm not saying that at all. But if you were to fire Matt McMahon now, his buyout is $10.2 million. Now, some people will say, well, they'll negotiate a lesser number, and it's offset by future income if he gets another job. True, fine, whatever. The bottom line is you're still talking about having to go raise in an era where you are shaking the same trees to raise funds to pay the players, to pay for coaches' raises, facilities, all the stuff, right? You're going to go shake the trees to buy out Matt McMahon, and it's not significant enough, or sufficient enough just to buy out Matt McMahon. No. You have to buy out Matt McMahon and his staff. Then you'd have to go hire a new coach. What do you think that's going to cost? And then after you raise the money to buy out Matt McMahon and raise the money to hire a new coach, you still have to go pay the players and build a roster that can compete? My contention is I would much rather LSU direct those fundraising efforts toward football. I'm not super interested in having LSU go try to raise $10 million to fire Matt McMahon, maybe another $10 million to hire a new coach, and then 5 to 7 or whatever you're going to spend on this basketball roster next year. You want to go raise $25 million for basketball in 1 year? Get out of here. You know what I'd rather they do? Take $5 million, go put together a competent roster, see if Matt McMahon can coach it to some degree of success. And if he can, great. You just saved about $20 million. And if he can't, next year, Okay, well, now you're in the rev share era where true NIL is supposed to overtake pay for play, which is what we've seen through the collectives. So the need, in theory, to fundraise greatly for NIL should be reduced significantly. And oh, by the way, Matt McMahon's buyout will have dropped as well another year. So you have a more affordable buyout. You're not having to dramatically fundraise for a buyout and for a new coach. And you've at least shown whoever the new coach may be a financial investment into your roster that you can go say, look at what we spent. And here's our plan forward with LSU Max through Playfly Entertainment. And here's what we're giving LSU basketball through revenue share. Like you will have a compelling story to tell a year from now. Go fire Matt McMahon today and bring in a new coach. Who wants this job? By the way, the best candidates have already taken other jobs because you're late. So they're moving forward with Matt McMahon, which is the right thing to do. Financially, competitively, all of it. Again, I'm not saying it's going to work and be awesome. What I'm saying is I have no desire to watch LSU try to go raise $10 million to buy out Matt McMahon in this climate where they're trying to fundraise to build rosters to stay competitive. You're going to throw $10 million to make Matt McMahon go away? You think that's going to solve your problem? You know what will solve your problem? Get players. And that's what they're committing to do. So I'll tell you again right now what I told you when I started. The same thing I told you in November when Bryce Underwood flipped. I'll reserve judgment. I don't give a rip that Corey Chest, Mike Williams, and Tyrell Water. Corey Chest, God bless him. He's a 6'8" post player who averaged 6 and 6 this year. Started 19 games. Lost his starting job when Matt McMahon went to the 4-guard lineup. Missed the last 4 games of the season with a foot injury. He redshirted a season ago. Nice player, good energy. He gives you nothing really no skill on the offensive end. He's an aggressive rebounder is what he is. And at 6'8", he's not a great shot blocker. Okay. Mike Williams made some shots for you as a freshman. Hardly saw the floor. Averaged 4 points. On this team, averaged 4 points this season. 4 points on this team. That was desperate for offense. Desperate for anything. That was completely reliant totally on Cam Carter. Average 4 points. I'm good. And Tyrell Ward quit on the team minutes before the season opener. Good. Robert Miller, Victorious Miller. I think those guys, it'll be interesting to see if they come back. Jalen Reed, coming off a bad knee injury, if he's healthy and wants to come back, I think he could certainly be a good player for you. Outside of that, I'm not sure there's anybody else on this roster that you desperately have to have back. So let's not get it twisted here. Seeing a bunch of dudes enter the portal from a team that was 3-15 in the conference, 14-18 overall, and barely had a pulse, you ain't missing nothing. Because there's nobody on this roster where you go, God, I hate to lose that guy. You know who you hated to lose? You hated to lose Lance Hurd, a 5-star offensive tackle from Louisiana who went to Tennessee after one season. Now, he hadn't been great at Tennessee, but you hated to lose him. You know you hated to lose? You hated to lose Jaylen Brown, a 5-star wide receiver from Florida who spent 1 year in Baton Rouge, transferred to Florida State. You hated to lose him because you could see the potential and the upside. You know what I mean? You hated to lose Walker Howard. There's some guys that you hate to lose in the transfer portal. Anybody on this basketball team? I'm good. The bigger issue, will quality players in the transfer portal, like power conference players, want to come to LSU and play for Matt McMahon with piles of cash in hand, ready to burn? When LSU goes knocking on the door of the biggest players in the transfer portal, will they bite? So, when we have the answer to that question, we'll know if this strategy is the right one. So talk to me in a month. And if LSU takes this big pile of cash and goes and buys a roster capable of competing in the SEC, now you're cooking with grease. We'll see how it goes next year, because then you can judge Matt McMahon fairly, because he ain't taking a knife to a gunfight anymore. Now, he may not be a sharpshooter, but at least he have a pistol in his hand. You know what I mean? Let's find out. It's absolutely the right thing to do. As frustrated as LSU fans are, as much as that was magnified watching Will Wade go on the run at McNeese, as much as that has magnified the angst for the few true LSU basketball fans that remain, I understand it all. But not only for the basketball program, for the athletic department as a whole, this is the best path forward. Get him a roster, see if he can compete. If he can, great, you got your guy. If you give him a roster and he can't compete, fire him, and you're in a much better spot financially and competitively a year from now if you fire him then. Talk to me in 30 days. Brian Kelly talked about the linebackers. You'll hear that next. Locked in LSU, your team every day. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a competitive inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the TradeMasters program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Football Tigers are back on the practice field on Tuesday, after which Joe Sloan will meet with reporters. So we're looking forward to Wednesday's show, where we'll let you hear a lot of what Joe Sloan had to say. But when Brian Kelly met with reporters on Saturday, he was asked about linebacker in particular and why they didn't go after a linebacker in the portal. They went and got a defensive tackle in Sadir Mitchell. They went and got 3 defensive ends in Jack Pyburn and Jamari Butler and Patrick Payton. They got Mansour Delane at corner. They got Tamarcus Cooley at safety. They added players at every single defensive position except linebacker. So why?
Yeah, I mean, we felt really confident that was a position that we had young players that we were really excited about, and veteran players. We addressed it in recruiting as well. So, when you're making those decisions, and again, it's, adding depth to your team, sometimes is not about, painting with a broad brush where you can cover every position. We felt that was one position that had veteran leadership and had young guys coming. Like, obviously, our situation where we played a freshman linebacker, we had a veteran player there in Weeks, West Weeks, that we kind of shut down so we could preserve another year for him. And obviously with, Witt being injured and Harold being injured, you're adding, to the mix of that linebacking core. So I think it really was about playing freshmen, him and Tylen getting a bit of a look too. Having 2 players that we think are premier players in Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins, and then having, a veteran like West really gave us the balance that we didn't think we needed to get into the portal.
Of course, you're losing Greg Penn, who was your number 18 leader and a great player, a great college player in his own right. So you lose Greg Penn, and then you've had some other portal exodus like Christian Braithwaite leaving, but again, that was a young guy who just didn't stay and develop. But when you look at the numbers, it actually makes sense. So had you not preserved West Weeks's final year of eligibility, and remember, that was something that they did very intentionally. When West got hurt, they basically made the decision to shut him down, and he didn't play again until the very end of the season and then the bowl game, because you can play in the bowl game and still maintain that year of eligibility. So you've got Witt coming off of injury. You've got West Weeks as well as the veteran presence. And then you've got the young guy who's talking about Devon Keys, who played a ton late in the season. Tylen Singleton would be the other freshman from a year ago who's still hanging around. Now, Harold Perkins is the asterisk, and no pun intended, because he's moving to the star position, but can play, not that you want him to play off the ball, but he has played there and can play there. Again, not that you want him there, but you put an asterisk. And then you look at all the young guys. Remember, they signed Charles Ross, a top 100 overall player, Jaden Breaker, Keelan Moses, and Zach Weeks, younger brother of Witt and West, who everyone says actually at this point is the highest rated, highest ceiling of the three at this point. Now, that's high praise because, Witt is outstanding. But the point is, I just rattled off 9 names at linebacker. It's probably a different story if West doesn't come back, because then you'd be losing West Weeks and Greg Penn. You'd be losing really all of your veterans except for Witt. With Perkins moving out to the star, you would probably need some veteran depth at that position. But West Weeks coming back, I think, really took away the necessity of getting a linebacker. I think they're actually really good at their numbers there, and provided they stay healthy with Witt, Devon Keys, West, and then you can bring some of those young guys behind them like you did this year with Devon Keys, I really do think that you're good at linebacker. Very interesting take there by Brian Kelly. An interesting question with being asked why they didn't go after linebacker there in the transfer portal. So LSU again will be back on the practice field on Tuesday, and we'll get an update from Joe Sloan as well about the offense and how that's all translating here in the first half of spring. Okay, before we get out of here, one other quick note: the baseball Tigers are back on the practice. At the box on Tuesday. They'll take on UL-Lafayette. It'll be the first time the Tigers and Cajuns have played this year. Been a tough start for the Cajuns. They're just 11-14 on the season, so this isn't one of the premier ULL teams that we've seen in the past. And LSU's actually won now 8 of the last 12 against the Cajuns, including a 5-4 win last year when they played in Houston at the Astros College Classic. The last time the Cajuns came to Baton Rouge, actually ULL beat LSU 8-5 back in 2023, the national championship season, when LSU didn't have a ton of success in the midweek. But as you've often heard me say, midweek games don't matter. I know people dispute that, but it's because they don't understand the premise of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you don't go all in to win midweek games. You get experience in the midweek to set yourself up for success in the weekend, because all that matters is you go 20-10 in the conference. You could lose every single midweek game. You go 20-10 in the SEC. You're a national seed. It's just how it is. So the Cajuns are 11-14 on the season. They're 3-3 in conference. They did win 2 out of 3 against South Alabama this past weekend. Connor Higgs is their leading hitter at 338 right now. Caleb Stelly is next at 287. So you could tell they've really struggled at times to get going offensively, which is the bugaboo. So if you're LSU, what do we talk about all the time? It's more about, can you throw strikes and make them beat you swinging the bat? I will be most interested to see how Jay Johnson and Nate Yeske handle the pitching staff. Last week, Jaden Newt got the start in the midweek, and they let him extend, and he was fantastic. For an LSU team that is desperate to find strike throwers in the bullpen, do Nate Yeske and Jay Johnson decide that Jaden Newt is more valuable trying to get them outs this weekend at home against Mississippi State as opposed to on a Tuesday night? Maybe this is an instance where you try to get Connor Ware and William Schmidt back on the horse to go get them some experience, maybe some confidence before this weekend, and you save Jaden Newt thinking he might be one of your middle relievers that can extend for you if you need it. Like after you burn Connor Ware in game 1, you needed someone in middle, after you burned Zach Cowan game 1, you needed someone in middle relief game 2, and you didn't have an option. Maybe Jaden Newt can be that guy. Again, I don't know if that's what Jay's going to do, but it's certainly an interesting possibility at this point. Of course, after the game, we'll be live. I'll remind you, when LSU baseball games go final all season long, be sure to join us on the Locked on LSU YouTube channel. So for those listening on podcast, make sure you get to the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the bell, so you're notified when we post a new video or go live, so you can join us for the live post-game show as soon as every baseball game goes final this season. Okay, y'all, that'll do it for us here on today's episode of Locked On LSU. Actually, my apologies. I do have to remind you about the bracket breakdown.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Okay, that'll do it for us here on today's episode of Locked On LSU. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.